What we have now with our animation is we have our snail coming onto the stage and we have some clouds appearing and getting dark and ominous. And obviously the snail is not looking so happy about this. We're going to be creating some rain and lightning, but before we do that, let's really fill the upper portion of the sky with clouds. The easiest way for me to do this is to turn our animation that contains the 3 clouds into a pre-comp. So I'm going to select those 3 layers, I'll right click, and we're going to choose pre-compose. This will create a new cloud comp, so we'll just call this cloud pre-comp. And I'm just going to click OK using the default settings. And now you can see we have 1 layer. And now I can go about duplicating that layer. In order to create a duplicate of our pre-comp, I'm just going to select this layer and I'll use Command or Control D, which creates a copy. I'll go ahead and I'll click S to open scaling. We're going to scale the duplicated copy down a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of opacity by using Shift T to open up my opacity settings, and we'll give this new version of the comp a little tiny bit of opacity, and then I'm just going to offset this and set it over here along the left hand edge. This will kind of just create a nice sort of layering effect. I'm going to duplicate this particular layer as well, so once again Command or Control D, that creates a copy. We'll grab this new duplicated copy and bring it over here. And let's just adjust the scaling a little bit. Maybe we'll unlink the scaling. And I'm just going to flip my clouds so that they're in the reverse order. We'll use -83 on the X value just to flip these the opposite way, just to make them look a little bit different. I'm going to put this layer underneath our original layer. We kind of get something that looks a little bit like this. And this just allows us to create a little bit more visual interest and also fill the sky with some more clouds. We're going to want these clouds to come onto the screen fairly quickly, our new copies anyway. We're just going to have them scale on. So let's just hide our new cloud layers. I'm going to see where the animation ends, where the clouds kind of turn dark. And as they're turning dark, we'll have the other clouds start to come on screen. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim both of the new layers, and let's just call these layers clouds 2, and we'll call this one on the top clouds 3, just to make it a little bit easier so that we know what's going on. We'll go ahead and we'll open up our scaling. We already have that on. I'm going to turn on keyframing to set a keyframe. I'll move out in time, and when our clouds are pretty dark, our original clouds, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set another keyframe. Let's come back to the first keyframe and we'll just go ahead and set our scaling down so that these are pretty small. And then real quickly, the clouds will just kind of explode out like that. I like that. I'm going to do the same sort of thing on clouds 3. So let's open up clouds 3. We'll go ahead and hit S to pop open scaling, and we're going to set keyframing. At this point, I'm going to hit K to make a keyframe at the exact same point. I'll click the diamond because this is our final scaling for this layer, and let's turn on the eyeball so we can actually see the layer. Then I'll hit J to go back to the original keyframe, and we'll just scale these guys way down so that they just kind of are going to appear from just about nothing. If we go ahead and play this section, you will see that if we play this, you'll see how the sky fills with the clouds. So that's going to look good. We're going to get a bunch of clouds. I also am going to want to change the background color a little bit right here. Let's go back to the beginning. And actually, these new clouds that we have, clouds 2 and 3, we don't even want them to be on the screen until they show up. So I'm just going to trim both of their endpoints to right when their first keyframe is. So I'll put my playback head at the first keyframe, and then we can use our keyboard shortcut of Option left bracket to trim these, and that way they're not even going to be part of our composition until we're ready to kind of like show them and have them appear on the screen. And let's just add a little bit of easing for both of these items as well. I'll right click and I'll use my keyboard shortcut of F9, and that will just create a little bit of a smoother sort of animation right there, which I like. And maybe we'll just offset one of these so that the scaling's not occurring at the exact same instant. In addition to this, let's animate our background. Let's make the background change colors. That is a layer that we already have. Remember that in an earlier exercise, we had shied some of our layers. So I'm going to click on my shy switch to turn on all of the layers. I'll unshy the medium solid, and then we'll reshy everything else that we're not working on right now. And because this is a solid, we can create animation and change the color of this. So we're going to want to create a little bit of a tween on this element and have it change color. Now, if we open up this layer, you will see that we just have regular transform properties. If we want to change color of something, we're going to need to use one of our effects. I'm going to go into my effect pane. Let's search for hue-saturation, and we do have a hue-saturation color correction. I'm going to drag this to my solid, and that's going to open up our hue-saturation. I want to create a keyframe because I want the light blue to be light blue until right about now. We'll go ahead and we'll keyframe this out, and we can use the effect panel to set keyframes, or we can always go into the effect and set our keyframes here too. So whatever feels most comfortable to you. I'm going to go ahead and turn on keyframing for color range. We'll scrub out in time, and when all of our clouds are present, this is where we want it to kind of change colors. I'm not going to change the hue, but I am going to change the master lightness. So I can bring the lightness down, and that will create a darker kind of version of our composition. I'll just reduce that down. And now if we play this section of the animation, it's like a nice sunny day, and then the clouds come in and it starts to get darker. So that's kind of the vibe that we want to get. And this is starting to make this look a little bit stormier. What we're going to work on next is we'll add in some storm sounds, and then we can start to create our animation with some rain and whatnot.